Nordic Religion by Ramiz and Jonah. Introduction. Also known as the Scandinavian people, who originated in the Bronze Age period of Northern Europe. They had a religion which was followed by the Vikings. These Vikings were powerful warriors, shipbuilders, and also successful traders. They had a rich mythology which used their gods and heroes. The Viking deities left a lingering impression on the English language by contributing the original words of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday.
Origins of the universe. The principal Nordic beliefs concerning the origins of the universe are embodied in the creation myth which takes place in the magical Ginnungagap, Gap, which is situated between the realm of Niflheim, which is the realm of ice to the north, and the realm of Muspelheim, which is the realm of fire to the south. The first being came into existence from a drop of water when ice from Niflheim and fire from Muspelheim met. This first being was Ymir, a primeval giant who was nourished by a cosmic cow, Adumla. Adumla fed herself by licking limestone until it was the shape of a man. The stone man was named Buri, and he was the first primeval god. Buri was the father of Bor, who married the giantess Vesla, the daughter of the frost giant Balta. Together they became parents of the first Aesir gods, Odin, Vili, and Ver. Ymir grew so large and so evil that the gods killed him. Odin and his brothers then used his body to create the universe. This universe comprised of 9 worlds. They placed the body over the void Ginnungagap and used his flesh for the earth and his blood for the sea. His skull held up by 4 dwarves was used to create heaven. Then using sparks from Muspelheim, the gods created the sun, moon, and stars. Ymir's eyebrows were used to create a place for the human race to live. This place was called Midgard, which means the Middle Earth. The great ash tree Yggdrasil, known as the World Tree, supported the universe with roots that connected to the 9 worlds. One root extended to Muspelheim, the world of fire, another to Niflheim, the world of ice, while others connected to Niflhel, the world of the dead. Asgard, home of Aesir, and Vanaheim, home of Vanir. The frost giants lived in Jotunheim, while the light elves lived in Alfheim. There was also the underground world for the black elves called Svartalheim, which the roots were also bound to.
Yggdrasil, the world tree and the axis of the universe, gave no sign of decay and appeared indestructible. It was believed to give life to everything that lived, gods, mortals, supernatural creatures, and others. This was also known as the Great Ash Tree, united with 9 realms. It was the source of unborn human souls. Principal beliefs. There were originally 2 families of gods, the Aesi, which were the newcomers, and the Vini, which were the old indigenous groups. In our world, the 2 groups became one family, and it was this family of gods that the Vikings worshipped. All the gods were in a relationship with each other, as well as with giants, dwarfs, and humans. The gods held different societal functions. Some were militaristic, while others were religious and economic. After death, a person would travel to the afterlife. The best way to do this would be accompanied by a god. The bravest warriors would be accompanied by Odin and his Valkyries to Valhalla, the Hall of the Dead, where soldiers would engage in much feasting until Ragnarok, which was the final battle between good and evil. They also believed that in Yggdrasil there was a bridge called Bifrost, which was made of air, water, and fire, that connected Asgard and Midgard. This was seen as a rainbow because of its colors, red, blue, and green. The bridge was occasionally seen in Midgard and believed to connect the heaven and earth. Only the gods would cross the bridge, which was guarded. Bifrost was also associated with the Milky Way. This was believed that Ragnarok would collapse from the weight of the monsters. Supernatural powers and deities.
Odin. Odin was the god of universal wisdom and victory. He was appeared to inspire battle ecstasy to some warriors, called Berserks. He was also attended by 2 ravens, Hugin, which is thought, and Munin, which is memory. He also rode an 8-legged horse, accompanied by 2 wolves, symbolizing greedy and feast. Thor. Thor was the god of thunder, lightning, and storms, and Odin's eldest brother. He was supernaturally strong and renowned for his huge appetite. Thor carried a magical hammer called Mjolnir, which means the destroyer. This hammer was made by the dwarves and would magically return to his hand when he needed it. Loki. Loki was Odin's foster brother. He was a trickster god and notorious among the deities. He He was the father of the monsters and gave Nordics the fishing net. Also, it was Loki who finally gathered the forces of evil to engage in the apocalyptic battle of Ragnarok. Balder was the son of Odin and the god of light. He was also the most beautiful in Aesir. His mother extracted earth from all living things in nature for Balder not to get harmed, but neglected the mistletoe which killed Balder. It was prophesied that after Ragnarok, Balder would come back to life in heaven. Freya was the god of fertility and controlled rain and sunshine. He was also originally one of the Vanir. He was associated with rites of some kind of ritual marriage. Njord was the god of the wind and fertility as well as the sea and merchants at sea, and therefore was invoked before setting out to sea on hunting and fishing expeditions. He was also known to have the ability to calm the waters as well as fire.
Tyr was a sword god, and his arm was bitten by a hideous furnace wolf. Heimdall was a god of the rising dawn, stood aside as a guard at Bifrost, the bridge to Asgard, and also carried Gjala, the mighty warhorn. Frigg was Odin's wife and queen of the deities. She was also the goddess of love and death and cared for all, especially women and children. Freya. She was the most renowned of the goddesses and was a twin sister of Freya. Originally a Vanir goddess, she came to be worshipped in a variety of fields, from warfare to love affairs, beauty, soothsaying, and the arts. She also taught Odin the shamanistic or spiritual magic known as Sidi. The Valkyries. The Valkyries were foster daughters of Odin and originally corpse goddesses. They were also cupbearers to the spirits of dead warriors and shield maidens under the leadership of Freya. They were also originally represented by the ravens. The Norns. The Norns were the three fates, three terrible sisters named Jord, meaning fate, Vendandal, meaning being, and Skald, meaning necessity. They spun threads of life that allocated each individual's destiny, not just the humans but the gods as well. They tended to Yggdrasil and kept it healthy, and were regarded as more powerful than the deities. Hela. She was the queen of the dead, lived in the underworld. All who died of sickness or old age passed into Hela's world. She was also the offspring of Loki, the trickster.
Relationship between sacred spaces and Nordic beliefs. Nordic history, folklore, and mythology has been developed through findings that inhabit Nordic sacred spaces. The Norse have many sacred sites throughout Scandinavia as they worship nature as a representation of the gods and spiritual realm of Yggdrasil. There was a sacred grove at Gamla, Uppsala in Sweden where it is believed that human sacrifices took place. There may have been temples here but no remains have been found. When people died they went to the sacred place of Valhalla.
Principal rituals and their significance for the individual and community. Norse people worshipped the spirits of their deceased families and had to be well treated as they went into the afterlife, because the world was full of them, and they affect each one's happiness. Mortals had to worship the gods and other supernatural beings and give them their due. However, no sacrifices were ever offered to the Norns. Their sacrifices were made by hanging prisoners from trees, and warriors were sometimes buried with slave girls, in the belief that the women would become their wives. They also sacrificed horses and their dogs to status of gods. People would also be buried in ships along with their possessions, as they thought it was necessary for the afterlife.
Relationship between the Nordic religion and its society. The Nordic creation story communicates the kind of extreme life experience the Vikings knew in the cold, harsh northern weather. He articulates the deeply spiritual views of the order of the natural world and acknowledges a debt to the gods for the gift of life. The female gods were also strong and powerful. This is reflected in the role of the Viking women who were active in society and indeed kept the village running effectively during the periods that men were at sea. Vikings were either warriors, farmers, tradesmen, or traders. The Norns determined what happened to the individual human or God, and this influenced people in the acceptance of life and whatever the fates had decided for them.
Humans search for meaning. The Nordic religion is based on the Vikings' life experience. The Nordic religion provided a framework of beliefs which brutal attributes and warlike actions could be readily justified. The Vikings found meaning in maintaining a positive and productive balance of agriculture and war, fertility and battle, life and death, tradition and regeneration, in light and relentless quest for wisdom here now and immortally hereafter.